So, as promised in the last video that I made, me talking about why I joined the Army, I would appreciate if you check that out and give me some feedback, whatnot. Tell me what you think. Have you ever think about joining the military? All that. As promised in that video, okay, in the post that I made on my Facebook for anybody who's following, I was going to talk about my experience doing wrestling in high school, like which most people probably don't relate to, because wrestling in the inner city, in Philadelphia, in common city areas, urban areas, as people say, wrestling is not really a popular thing, a known thing that a lot of people get into, a lot of people are even aware of, that they even think it exists. If you go around and you ask most people and you say, oh, do you do wrestling? Have you ever heard of wrestling? Do you know anybody who does wrestling? They're going to think that you mean WWE, that you're talking about wrestling in the ring, going around, coming out on stage, fireworks, backflips, swanton bombs, twisted face, all that regular stuff. John Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, the usual WWE stuff, but it has nothing to do with that. If you never knew that, there's nothing in common between professional wrestling and regular, real, actual wrestling. When people want to pursue a career in actual wrestling, they go to college. If they don't go to college, they probably just do some small tournaments and things like that and work their way up. But for the most part, if you want to make a career in real wrestling, you go to college, then you try out for the Olympics. If you make it that far, you just do world teams, things like that, charity show, all that kind of stuff with wrestling. There is no professional wrestling in that lane. Yes, there has been many people, most notably Kurt Angle, who became a pro wrestler after being an Olympic level wrestler. Then you got Brock Lesnar, and then you got more recently a young dude named Gable Stevenson, who just recently finished up his Olympic run and actually signed $1 million contract, multi-million-dollar contract with the WWE. So it is possible, but it's not normally what people do. Now that's a good intro. Let's get to the point. Me, when I was a freshman, right, I had no idea about anything that I was getting myself into. Like I said, I just came out thinking like, oh, wrestling, it gotta have something to do with WWE. It gotta have something to do with pro wrestling. But boy, could you be more wrong. Yes, you might note when you start to actually wrestle, or you start to study wrestling, you see that people do moves that you do in amateur wrestling, college wrestling, high school wrestling, whatever. And that's because most pro wrestlers have wrestled in high school or middle school or college or something, and then they just went to pro wrestling. But that's not really what it's about. Rules are completely different. It's just not the same. That's a whole nother video topic. But I didn't know anything from a can of paint. So me and my best friend named Miles, right, we was both just like, they keep talking about wrestling's on the announcement. And we actually went to, when we was in our 9th grade orientation, actually, we seen one of our coaches named DePiro. He actually was there at the table, had his little board out or whatever. And we were like, wrestling, all right. So we talked to him about it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, if you can get more people to sign up, I appreciate that. As I already established, wrestling is unpopular. It's not really a common thing to go to. So obviously, as a freshman, you're going to get there. You're going to be in a room full of big sweaty dudes, mostly upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, and you're going to be embarrassed and you're going to be scared. You're going to be super small. You're going to be underweight. You're not going to know what your place is and how good you're going to be and where you're going to go in this sport. So half the time, you're probably going to be wondering yourself, why am I even here? Why am I even showing up and still going every day knowing you're scared out of your pants, right? Ready to crap yourself every time you go because everybody around you is super huge, super big, super strong, and just out of this world. When we started off, we had a huge team. We had about 20, 30 people. We had bodies on bodies. We had extra people. So much JV going on just because people couldn't get a match and the coaches just trying to look out and have people get some time on the mat. And it was a great time, I wasn't that great as a freshman. Most people aren't, especially if you never wrestled in middle school. And let me rewind this and say this before I continue. I wish I did wrestling in middle school. I wish I went to Powell Centers or, just knew somebody who actually wrestled when I was younger because I needed it so bad. Like, if I had that in middle school, I would not have gotten in so much trouble. If I had it in elementary school, I would have not gotten in so much trouble. It would have saved me so much trouble. Like, I really wish I had it, but, that somebody else has that story. It ain't for me. But, it helps you can perform better in your freshman year, in your freshman year right? You could perform better if you already have prior knowledge. But this is me coming in from a can of paint, nothing, at all. And that's most people. So you're going to lose. You're going to get your butt kicked. You're going to get tossed around because half the time you're going to wrestle people who are juniors and seniors, or if they're not a junior and senior, they probably just super good and they're going to trash you because they can. Why not? That's the only way to learn is to get your butt kicked. So, I'm giving y'all a speed run because I don't want to really drag your butt so much. Like usual, I always say that, and I'll try not to. But my 10th grade year, sophomore year, right? I kind of fell out of it. Not like I fell out of wrestling or I wasn't interested or I wasn't passionate or something like that. It was mostly like just had a lot of personal stuff going on, a lot of family changes. I wasn't really socializing with a lot of people. I mean, I already wasn't as a freshman, but it was like in 10th grade when I was a sophomore, it was like, man, like I really hate people and I really don't like this school sometimes. Like I was really in my bag about a lot of stuff. So that poured over into wrestling and that made me feel like, man, like I don't even want to be here no more. But that's what happens when you get a little depressed and you just get in your head too much. You get worried about what other people doing and what other people think about you, and you just ball up and you end up missing out on stuff. Now, 10th grade wasn't much. I wrestled, I came there, and I practiced, blah, blah, blah. Didn't really try super hard. And I knew I wasn't trying as hard as I was when I was a freshman, but it was just I couldn't get myself together. And then 11th grade comes, and I pretty much did the same thing, but even worse. Like, I wasn't really going. I was skipping matches, something I never did before, but I was like not even showing up to matches, which, as you know, is terrible. Imagine somebody coming to a bet, the most important person, I'm not saying that was important, but imagine a key player on a football team, basketball team, baseball team, track team, any team, not showing up. Because in wrestling, right, you got weight classes, and at the time I was 152, 160. We didn't have like but so many heavy upper weight guys when I was in 11th grade, not so much. So me not being there affects the team. And at the time I wasn't realizing like how much me not being there actually plays a part. And I had to address this because I had too many debates with people about, oh, well, you like wrestling because wrestling's an individual sport. It's not a team sport. It's like, nah. Wrestling is an individual sport and a team sport. Yes, you and only you are responsible for what happens out on that mat. Yes, you are responsible for not getting pinned, not getting destroyed in a tech fall, not getting disqualified, not acting out and having a bad behavior and costing the team points, right? You are responsible for that, yes. But you need to perform at a great rate and win as much as possible so your team can have team points. Or when you go to a tournament, your team points are higher. The more y'all win together, the better you look as a team. So if you can't bring yourself to do the duty of serving your team, then you're failing your team. You're making your team look bad. Therefore, it is a team sport. Yes, it's not you go over here, you get in this position, you play this, you do that, you block him, you stop this. Of course, it's not that because there's no court, there's no field. Duh. But people used to always say that to me, and to this day, honestly, like, oh, it's an individual sport. You just like working by yourself. You selfish. It has nothing to do with that. Anyways, right? I didn't realize that though. When I was a junior and I'm 3 years in wrestling, like feeling like I only wrestled really 1 year because I only tried my hardest when I was a freshman, and then I got other teammates coming to me and throughout in the hallways and in other classes like, man, you need to come. Coach been asking about you. Where have you been at? We need partners. Certain people don't be having partners because I'm not there. And as you know, well, you don't know, but if you know, right? If you're a heavier person, what you look like practicing with somebody who's 110 pounds? What you look like practicing with the smallest person on the team? What the heaviest person look like practicing with the smallest person? I wasn't even registering that in my mind. Like, yo, that's not fair that I'm not there and somebody who's 150, 160, 170 needs to practice with somebody who's 150, 160, 170, or maybe heavier because, hey, why not? But lighter, there's no benefit to wrestling with somebody lighter, especially if they don't have the same experience as you do. You're not going to learn nothing. But me, I was blocking that stuff out again, and in that case, I was being selfish and only worrying about me. So as a senior, right, I got my head together, right, and I realized my wrongs as far as wrestling, not just with wrestling, but as far as my grades, as far as school, as far as socializing. Started to realize, like, I'm missing out on a lot of stuff, not participating in activities in school, not showing up, skipping class. I did all of it, right? But wrestling, for me, was the first thing that gave me a reason to, like, yo, I miss wrestling, and you know, I couldn't wrestle because my coaches were strict. And at the time, like, I don't know about now or whatnot, but I only at the time they was not playing with grades if you played sports. Like, if you had more than one F, honestly, even sometimes you had one F, you might get the cutoff right there. And for me, that was no joke. If you showed up and you had Fs, they say sit there and do your work at practice. You're not touching this mat at all until you do your work, until your grades come up, or you get a teacher or something, or whoever you failing to vouch for you or something, which I had none. So, you know, as a senior, I realized all of this and I got my head together. And it came to the point where I was like, I got to stop going out there and just barely wrestling and dragging my feet and, you know, just being there to be there and not being. You can show up somewhere all you want. You can have all the heart in the world. You can care all you want. You can have so much love and so much passion about something. But if you just show up and you don't want to put in the extra work or the real work that is required, you're not going to be good. And I know, like, Coach DePiro used to always tell me, like, okay, you know, just go out there and have fun. Just go out there and have fun. Don't stress about it. Don't, you know, get yourself down because you lost or you didn't do as well as you thought you would or whatever happens, right? And that's okay. And I get where he was just trying to say, you know, it's not that serious. You know, it doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be. But at the same time, I knew when I looked at other people and they had their families and their friends and their girlfriends or whatever show up and they got all this support, they go hard and they want to win and they want to drive and they get that support when they actually do well. I knew deep down I wanted that. So when I was like reflecting on myself, I was like, man, you know, I wonder what it's like to really be good and really actually win and really earn it. So after that summer, like, I'll just start working out crazy. And then by the time the wrestling season came in 2015, and ending in 2016, I was on a roll. Like, I was just like, man, I'm going every day. I'm not skipping nothing. I didn't skip no practice. I went to every practice, every match, unless I had a real reason not to go. And that was the best time of my life. And, you know, where did I go after that? How did it turn out for me? I made it all the way to regionals. And then never a day in my life did I think me and my best friend Miles, like, we were both just the most scared people in the beginning, but in the end we was like the most dedicated people, because once all the people we started with, juniors and seniors and, you know, and the sophomores at the time, they all graduated, so we were like the only ones. So we took it by storm, we grabbed it and we destroyed it, and we both went to pubs, districts, and regionals together. And, you know, if I would have worked a little bit harder and if he would have worked even more harder, if we had more time, we probably would have went to states, you know, and the state level competition. To make the regionals alone, if you don't know, in any sport, a regional, county, you know, tournament level means like you're really good and you really earned that spot. And if you can make it to states in anything, in music, in basketball, football, tennis, soccer, state level, anything is a big deal. So if you even got close to that, you know, I'm not saying you're the greatest in the world, but you accomplished something. Because most people, the percentage of people who make it there isn't so much. And all I can say, like, and hopefully this was, you know, a little bit interesting for whoever's watching it. You know, thanks for watching this whole thing. And if you don't know nothing about wrestling, I encourage you to look it up. I encourage you to watch clips on YouTube, see what it's really like, see how tough it really is, because people just think football is it and basketball is it and baseball is it, and it's like wrestling is a very, very powerful sport. It's a very good experience if you imagine. I'll go into other inside things, but I just wanted to say, like, that's my journey in a nutshell. I could break down a little more details, but there's no need for that. Point is, wrestling was a tool for me that got me out of trouble, helped me channel my anger, gave me a reason to go to school, finish school. I had made friends while I was there, people I connected with, people I never forget that does the same sport as me. And even then, there were people in the teams that were in a different social group in school. But here in wrestling, we all the same. Like, you know, we kick it with each other. You know, when you out there and you got your other friends and other things like that, go talk to them. But when you're wrestling, we know who we are and we know what we do. We stand together. We stood together. We had good matches. We had bad matches. We had disagreements. We had fights on the team. Everything happened that happens on the team. And all I can say is, being on a team that actually cared and actually had passion and wasn't just there to look cool or wasn't just there to get a stamp like, oh, I'm on the football team, oh yeah, like just to be stamped. Like, wrestling is an underrated, undervalued, underdog sport where if you just want personal glory and you just want to be a better person and get stronger or faster, lose weight, whatever the case may be, prove something to yourself or your friends or your family, that is a thing that you do, and it's a personal glory. Why? Because it's you and only you on that mat, and only you are responsible. You can hear all the coaching you want, you can get all the advice you want, you can talk to all the people you want, but only you are responsible for your success. And for me, that is the first and most important thing that I learned in my life early on as a teenager, thanks to wrestling, is that only person who can determine how stuff is going to turn out, how well and how hard the work is, and what you're going to get out of it is you. I'm going to leave it there. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Again, I know I said that already. Check it out, right? Share, like, comment, do all that usual stuff, and look out for the next video. Thanks.